Are you ready?
Live.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready? Greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my co-host, the Minister Samuel.
Welcome again to Live Talk.
Indeed, indeed. First and foremost, we are going to go to our general statement and our disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. We have to get that out of the way because we're going to be talking about some things today. Just keep in mind, just a part of that disclaimer, we're not attorneys. However, the information that we're going to share is more so just highlighting some of the laws that have passed here in Florida that we need to be mindful of. A lot of times laws pass, and like the famous quote, ignorance of a law does not excuse you. And so we just try to share information. It's up to you to look even deeper into that information. But it just kind of set the surface of things, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, because they're actually changing, but they can and will affect you. Mm-hmm. And they can affect you in a positive way. They can affect you in a negative way. Yes, but you need to be conscious of the fact that they're changing.
They are, yes, sir. And then talking about the law, and I guess this is on a spiritual plane. We're in the season of Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread, yes. Right? So there are spiritual laws, and we oftentimes talk about this. Even when it comes to spirituality, we talk about how the enemy that extract those laws, put it within the scope of their system, but hold themselves guiltless of it. Because when you think about it, someone goes and kills someone, they're held to, they're held responsible for that. When the scriptures talk about an eye for an eye,
right?
They put you on that,
lethal injection.
Yeah. So, but they still.
At least in Florida.
Right. And so in other states, I think it's a little different. But the point is, it's still an eye for an eye. And if you was to kill someone, then you very well will lose your life, because they're going to hold you responsible and accountable for it. So those same laws we deal with on a daily basis, but it just, everyone ain't held to the same standards when it comes to the law.
No, and I like the fact that you said that, because for us, it's the season of Passover. And that, it's Passovers and about passing over from one state to another. Mm-hmm. And the basics of a Passover was, you had the master and you had the slaves. And now we have in the country, they say that there's a separation of church and state. Mm-hmm. But when you make the point, eye for eye, that's a biblical law, says eye for eye. They say there's a separation of church and state. But if you do kill someone, understand the law is set up to put eye for eye. Mm-hmm. They may not say it in those terms, right, but you're being held under those same terms. And those who are in rulership have a way of exempting themselves from the law, where when you're not in rulership, you are not exempt.
Right.
And Passover was coming up with a way of how to make us exempt, which is why we're trying to just share some of these things in these laws where you don't get caught up in them.
Right. All right, so we're just going to give you a rundown of the show today. First, of course, we'll have the minister word of today, a quote of today. Shortly after that, we'll go to a quick commercial break. And then we'll come back with our main topic, like we're talking about. We'll be talking about the key new laws that was recently passed here in Florida, and how they, we'll talk a little bit about what are their primary objective is, right? And then we'll go to another commercial break, and then right after that, we'll try to get into some world news. We'll talk about, we'll continue with the laws, but we probably gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about some other things that are going on that's locally. And after that, hey, we'll get to the point where we close out with a motivational quote by the host. So with no further ado, Minister, what is the quote or word of today?
And it was a short word of the day, but because we're talking about the law, we want to talk just a little bit about justice. So the word of the day will be justice, and which means fairness in the way people are dealt with. But I really want to refer to a quote, and this was from James Baldwin, and he talked about this on justice. And it was, if anyone really wishes to know how justice is administered in a country, one does not question the policemen, the lawyers, the judges, or the protected members of the middle class. One goes to the unprotected, those precisely who need the laws of protection the most, and listen to their testimony. Because justice is delivered differently based on, unfortunately, your class and your standing.
It is.
And your ability to pay.
Right.
Or not being able to pay.
Because when you think about it, the old days, if you offended someone, and let's say that you killed someone's love member, if you brought enough ransom of money to that person, you made them whole again. And it was all about money, and that was a way to making them whole again. Now, in our structure of the law, the legal system that is today, it's a little different. You see such and such against the state of Florida, such and such against the state of Maryland, or whatever the case may be. It's always, you're against the people, and it's never about the individual. And the law has always been about making the individual who you harmed or did some harm to whole again.
Right.
Whether that was you doing some time or whether that was you paying some money to them. But it was a way of making them whole again. And and we see in this society it's a little different when it comes to that, and we have to be able to uphold justice, because everyone won't be able to do some of the things that another person would be able to do. If you're poor and you're not making a lot of money, you can't pay $50,000 to make a person whole again, $100,000. But if you have money, then you just go out on a rampage and just be killing everybody. Say, you know what, I can pay you $100,000, I can pay you $50,000. It's like
See, it's funny you bring that up, because my wife mentioned it was a popular show she was watching. I'm not gonna say the name of the show, but it was funny because it was a wealthy, well-to-do, rich white woman, and her comment was, "I'm rich enough to get away with at least one murder."
Right. See.
And she was very serious when she said it.
Yeah. I mean, and it is what it is. People feel like they come across money. That's the mindset. When you think about all the we're gonna get into this here. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna get into some more of this here, because there's just so much going on in the news, and it's just so much that's happening, and we're gonna chop it up a little bit about this here. All right, we'll go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zodi toothpaste. Zodi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zodi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zodi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds free. Get yours today at noistore.com.
All right, welcome back. And I wanted to go to a quick commercial break because it's just, like I mentioned before, there's so much that's going on in the news when it comes to when we talk about the legal system and how the legal system kind of works for the wealthy but doesn't work for the poor. I think that's a big topic that we need to be mindful of, or talk about. Because even when you think about some of these celebrities, you find those out there that are rich and famous. Like right now in the news, we see P. Diddy, for instance, right? They have this money, and I feel like they just feel like they're untouchable when they have this money. And then, like, to offend your own people, they think you're just gonna get away with it to offend your own people. That becomes the issue. And especially when it kind of deals with our women. And
it's unfortunate when it comes to abuse, because with money and power, you begin to feel that you're above the law.
Right.
And we're not passing judgment, but it's like when you get a preponderance amount of evidence against you, okay, you have a serious legal battle to fight now. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately with us, because we were normally on the receiving end of the punishment, then now when we get unlimited resources, it's like, now do we feel that we can act the way the oppressor? Because traditionally they were able to get away with things. Mm-hmm. We never were able to get away with that. But now when you get a certain amount of money, it makes you think that you can be possibly above the law.
Right. And we see this too often when it comes to us, and even in politics. You get in a certain position, and now you feel like you're in this position, you're untouchable. Mm-hmm. And you just and you take full advantage of the power that you have in that position, not taking into consideration that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes, it does.
So it's almost like you almost setting yourself up, or they're setting you up.
Yes.
Because we just find too many of us. We get this notion that we and I go back to Paul Moody. He said something. He called it a nigga wake up call.
Yes.
Like when you get into a certain position, you think you the head of that position, so you'll get your nigga wake up call real fast.
Yes.
And now you're dealing with situations that you never thought you'd be dealing with, because you see your counterpart, your white counterpart, get away with it. So now you feel like you can get away with it. But we just, we just have to understand that when we take on a large amount of power, we have to be responsible with it, regardless of what others may be doing. If we're taking on this power to better our people, then we need to be looking to better our people.
Yes. Because justice is not blind. It's supposed to be, but it's not. Right.
So we're going to get into some of these laws that was signed into law this year. We're going to talk about HB 1275, and it was HB 317. And so going back to HB 1275. Now this is this particular law said persons with disability registry. Now this bill is known as the Protect Our Loved Ones Act. It's authorized local, what it does is it authorizes local enforcement agencies to develop and maintain a database known as a Persons in Disability Registry of persons who may have certain developmental, psychological, or other disabilities of condition, including but not limited to autism spectrum disorder, Alzheimer's disease, or a related dementia disorder, and Down syndrome that may be relevant to interactions with law enforcement. And we have seen a lot of this happening in our community where police officers would come out and it may be a mental disturbed individual, but they send the wrong police out, and then the next thing happens is chaos because now he done shot the individual, not knowing their medical background, not knowing anything about them, you know. So I think this is a pretty decent law to enact and sign into law, because we have to know, we have to protect our community, and we have to protect those that are having some of these disabilities, you know. And the police officers, it's unfortunate, but they come out in our communities and they don't consider those things.
Yeah, especially if they're not trained. And some police forces are trying to do better, and because you need trained officers to deal with people with mental health issues. And I don't know the statistics, but I know right now, I want to say I've heard it's 1 in 5 people are suffering with mental health.
Right.
That's a large number.
It is.
And that number is probably larger in our community, and large. But when you have somebody that has a mental deficiency, and that don't necessarily mean they crazy, but that mean they have issues. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those issues, if you just walk up on that person, you might think that they violent. You might think that they're gonna do something when it's really just they have a mental. Mm-hmm. Whereas someone who's conscious of that, and I know they say we may have had the resources, but if police officers were trained to know that they're dealing with that person, they realize this person only needs a conversation.
Right.
And that calms them down because of their issue. But if you come up to that same individual and pull out a weapon, you make them more aggressive, even though they not prone to violence. Your action will cause them to be more aggressive.
Right.
So then a lethal force happens and they're gone. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you had someone trained, mm-hmm. they will know before getting there, this is the type of individual that I'm dealing with.
Right.
And this is how you deal with them. And it's just a whole different situation.
Mm-hmm. Now I would say this, and I'm gonna say this for our parents, and we know if you know your child suffers from any type of disorder, you need to call the local sheriff department, and then you need to register them. When it comes to those certain conditions, we just have to be mindful, because I'll say this here. As parents, sometimes we're in denial mm-hmm. when it comes to that, and we don't want to speak that into existence, if we will,
right.
About our children. But one of the things too that I think this particular law is doing it too is allowing for privacy and security when it comes to calling and letting them know about your child's condition, or even an adult. We're talking yes. Even an adult. Like if you're an adult that's going through some of those issues, don't be in denial about it, because if you are and you don't share that information with the sheriff's office by going through the registry, making sure that you're in that database. So if the police was called out on you about anything, they'll know whom to send out. Like you said, we have to deal with skillful people that know how to deal with these type of situations, because otherwise you'll find someone that doesn't know anything about how to deal with a mental patient or a mental person, and come out, and the first thing they see is aggressive person acting aggressive, and then you know what they do? They reach for their gun. The first step's supposed to be like a taser or what have you, but they're reaching for their gun. That don't
always happen in
right.
our community. We know that sometimes is not happening in our community.
Right. So I would say, parents, make sure you reach out to the registry. This particular law went into effect actually January the 20th this year, the first of this year. So it's already in effect. So if you do have a child that's struggling with mental health, anything like that, autism, whatever it may be, you need to let the school officials know. They need to know, and the police is on the street need to know. Everybody need to know, so that's already documented. So anytime a situation occurs, then the right help and the right skillful person can now come out and deal with that situation. So that's very, very important. One of the objectives, though, I'm going to go into that just a little bit here. Like the primary objective of this legislation is to create a database that allows individuals with disabilities, their caregivers, and emergency response to better communicate and coordinate during the emergency situations. And by voluntarily registering with the database, individuals with disabilities can provide essential information about their needs, such as medical conditions necessary to accommodate, because that's another thing we have to be mindful of. It may be some medical conditions that they're suffering from. So you'll know right then and there, like, okay, so this person may need this type of medicine or whatever the case may be. Oh, he lacking this type of medicine. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you understand that as well. So I really respect and like this particular law. But we just have to follow up and make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do on our end, to make sure that we register our children, or, as an adult, you register yourself into this database so that we can do away with a lot of the killings that we see within our community when it comes to the interaction with the police and our citizens within our community.
Yeah, or unnecessary harm.
Right.
And or unnecessary incarceration.
Right.
When it's and just a point to add on it, it is also for our children. But understand, your child can be 25. Mm-hmm. Your child can be 35. Mm-hmm. This can be a spouse.
Right.
This can be a brother. This can be a sister. You can now register and have that information. So even if somebody got called and it wasn't you and they was somewhere else, their name pops up in that database, mm-hmm. and immediately lets them know what their condition is.
Right. Right. I think that's a beautiful thing. So we really have to take advantage of that and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make sure our children are safe. And like you say, 25, 30, and make sure that we are safe. If you're suffering from a condition, hey, just reach out and to the sheriff's office. They'll kind of guide you from that point there. Just keep in mind, we're sharing this information today. But as far as what you need to do, the step will be to reach out to the sheriff's office. I'm pretty sure they will give you a guide from there what you need to do. If you need to fill out some information, I believe also you need to just verify that this person has that condition, maybe some doctors, anything from the medical department that justifies the person with the condition. You just need to make sure that you provide that. And then any medication or anything like that they may require when they go through certain disorders, if you will. So that's making sure that you provide all the information that you need to provide to the sheriff's office, so we don't experience some of the things that we have experienced in the past. So now, when we look at the impact of this here, and the HB, and the law is called HB 1275, and it has the potential to positively impact various communities within Florida by promoting accessibility, improving emergency preparations, supporting caregivers, fostering community engagement, and advocating for the rights and needs of individuals with disabilities. I'll go on to say, however, it's essential to monitor the implications, implementations, and effectiveness of the registry to address any potential challenges or shortcomings that may arise. So we just want to make sure that, some of the impacts from it, they just started, just wrote it out. It could have been something that's already in effect, but we just now know of it. and they're trying to make sure that this is something set up that can benefit or benefit our community. So it's something very impactful as well.
And it's definitely a positive one that we need to be taking advantage of.
Yes, indeed. And then it has a broader, like when you think about this on a broader stage, in different jurisdictions, it differs a little bit. But when you think about legislation in different states, everybody is on the same page. So it's bipartisan support on this here. So there's not a lot of, debating back and forth and conflict. And we all know that needs to be something that's passed. So that's a beautiful thing. So we know that on different levels, it's a bipartisan support on this here bill. So that's kind of like HB 1275, and basically that, again, that particular law there is Protect Our Loved Ones Act. It's HB 1275, and like I mentioned before, it is something that is in effect right now. It went into law January the 1st of this year, 2024. So just be mindful of that. If you know somebody that knows somebody, or if you know somebody that may not have heard about this particular law, make sure you share it with them, and hopefully they go in, to the registry and to the sheriff office and go through the proper steps to make sure that their child or themselves are registered in the database. All right, Minister. I know we had another law that we was looking at. I want to see if you want to kind of share that.
Depending on which, I don't know if we're looking at the squatters or the.
We're gonna go into that one. I have a little short video. Let's go into the transportation.
Okay. So we
say that one's the interstate safety, right? HB 317.
Yeah. It's 317.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, HB 317, and some may have heard about it. It's about transportation, where if you see a stop, it was like the police vehicles pulled over, you're supposed to move over to the next lane. And people used to do that as a courtesy,
right,
but it's actually the law. Mm-hmm. And that one went into effect last year, but they recently have expanded it. And it's not just for police officers, but I think it's for like construction vehicles, emergency vehicles. Somebody could be on DOT on the side of the road with the cones out. It even expanded it to if you're a broke down vehicle and you got your flashers on, this for every flashers on, that you are supposed to move over that lane. And the fact that if you can't move over, you're supposed to slow down. Like inside, the traffic might be heavy where you can't get over. Then that means you're supposed to slow down at least 20 miles per hour. This is one, because I'm big on public safety, roadway safety, that we need to be aware of. It's not just unfortunate. Quite a few police officers have been literally run over doing their job on the side of the road. And people will say, well, they weren't paying attention or they didn't notice. And judges really not going to have, especially now that this is the law, they're not going to have no leniency on you, because it's like if you're driving, and like I saw it in writing, it's like if you're doing 70 or 80 miles per hour, you should be paying attention.
Right.
Okay, so there's no excuse for you to be doing 70 or 80 miles per hour and you running into a police officer or running into their car.
Especially not in that lane, because when you think about the two lanes, and it's the slow lane that they normally pull, people over in. So if you moving that fast in that lane, you need to be, you need to go to jail.
Yeah, you should have been on the farther lane. And if you can't get over, you're supposed to slow down, because what'll happen is now, if you blow by one of them, you subject yourself to get a ticket. That officer might not be able to get you, but if he sees you or if there's another officer there, now you're going to wonder, why am I being stopped and why am I getting ticketed? It's because you just broke the law. You say, well, ignorance of the law is no excuse. If you see them, you are supposed to pull over. Or if it's a work vehicle, or you see a semi-tractor trailer over there and he got those cones out or the flags because they're supposed to have those on there, you're also supposed to move over for them as well.
Right.
So you go say, why is he stopping me? Because when you see anybody in that lane and they in distress, you're supposed to move over. If you can't move over, you're supposed to slow down. But if you get stopped not for a ticket, you can say, I didn't see a police officer. Yeah, but there was cars pulled over on the side and you didn't stop. And I think they're like, them tickets might be as much as $200.
Yeah, they start off with it's up to $150.
It's up to $150. I guess it depends on
$158.
$158.
It said the violation is a non-criminal traffic infraction punishable as a moving violation.
Yep.
The statute-based fine is $60, but the additional fees and charges, it totals up to be $158.
Right. See, so that's an expensive ticket when all you had to do was slow over.
Right.
Slow down or move over.
And then in the case like that, because like the police officer may be attending to someone on the side, but like what you said, they'll just call it in, you know, and then depending on how fast you're going, you can get this ticket plus a speeding ticket.
Exactly.
So it'll double, triple that amount, you know. So it's important that, and I'm a big proponent of that, because when I see people, because I have heard of so many incidents where a person have lost their life that's on the side of the road. And just think about it. Depending on how far you can get off the side of the road, if you have to change a tire, you know, you may have about this much, you know, as far as
you're lucky to have a foot,
right,
6 inches.
Right. So it's important that we be considerate when it comes to certain things. Like, and I'm always I'm big on that, and I tell my wife, like, move over. Like, it's like, no, move over, because you don't know you may not see them now, but they may be walking around like this here. And if they walk around, by the time you get there, you hitting them.
Or somebody open the door. It could be somebody in the back seat. What if somebody get out?
Right.
And they getting out, but they on the side of the road. But they stopped.
Right.
Now, common sense say you should get out on that passenger side away from traffic. But people in emergency situation, they're not always thinking about common sense.
No. And then you think you got enough space. Like, you think you got enough, you know. No, that's not enough. But that's why we have to be mindful. That's why we say when we get on the road, you have to drive for everybody, except for everybody else, because everybody else ain't in their right minds when it comes to that. Everybody else ain't thinking about everybody else on the road when they're on the road. So it's important that that you are thinking about everyone when you're on the road, you know, because you can save lives that way. Period. You can save lives that way. No, but that's one I think it should help prevent people from you know, causing these incidents that we often hear about all the time, especially when it comes to certain city that has traffic that's moving. Yes. You know, so it's yes, certain cities, because I mean, we're in Florida. I mean, you think about Miami. So,
or Atlanta. If you're enjoying Atlanta, or you know, in Miami, our traffic is bad. We have multiple lanes, but some of them have 8 lanes. Right.
No, that's a big one there too. And then that one also, the only thing about that one is one that's right now being talked about, because there's another one that says if you're in the fast lane, and if you're in that lane, if you're in that lane, and if you're not going around someone, you know, picking up speed, and if you're going too slow. Now, this one is supposed to be for coming into effect January 2025. So they're ticketing you for going too slow. But it's another one. That's going to be another one we talk about. But it kind of associate with this one, because it's a lot of different ones that are similar to this one. But it talks about the same. It's similar to the same bill, but it talks about the same information.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. So
when it's dealing with public safety and saving lives, it's like that's what the laws are written for.
Right.
If you think that you're the only one on the road and you're exempt, it's
something wrong.
No, I mean I was on my here today, and there was 2 vehicles. I mean, they looked like something that should be on the way they had painted, and they were muscle cars.
Okay.
Yellow and red, really high performance cars, big wheels, and it's like they're on the road doing this. And it's like, okay, you go to the track. You're not supposed to, this is for the public. But they're driving on I-4 like they're on the track.
And that's another thing. It's so many incidents that have occurred for people speeding. That's why they big on that as well. You know, because you'll take an innocent life.
Yes.
You know, you can take a child that's graduated from high school. You know, got great potential. You know, and next thing you know, you speeding on the highway, you crash into that person, and his life or her life is gone, just out of your ignorance, you know. So we can't stop ignorant people. But what you do, you penalize their butt for being ignorant, and you make sure that the law is on your side, and to the max degree you try to penalize them, because that's sometimes what prevents it. Because do you know it's going to mess with your pockets? Most of the time,
that's when they start thinking.
You're going to say, like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Because I tell you, they gave me a lot of seatbelt tickets where I ain't have my seatbelt on. And probably the third one, I said, I need to start putting my seatbelt on.
Because see, that one, they could get you, they could stop you because they just saw it wasn't on.
Right. So it was like, man, really, y'all gonna ticket me for not having a seatbelt on? Now, it's been many years ago, but still, like, that's when they was really enforcing that law. But it taught me now, when I get into my vehicle, I'm putting a seatbelt on. I'm not even thinking about it no more. I'm just putting a seatbelt on.
Because if you don't know you need it until you need it.
Right. All right, so let's move it on a little bit, because we're going to get into that main one I want to get into. But this one I want to share is the hot car death prevention, because April is the hot car death prevention month. And because it gets the hottest around this month, and then there's many mistakes that we make. Now, this particular law, just a summary of it, the CS-HB 591 passed the House on February 15, 2024, and subsequently passed the Senate on February 21st, 2024. Now, this particular law here, and let me get into it without going through too much of the information here. This particular law, it creates like the in memory of Araya Page. I want to look that up, bro. It's I guess, and who died? She died of a heat stroke after being left in a vehicle. So they created this act after her. Now, the bill designates April as Hot Car Death Prevention Month to raise the public's awareness of the dangers of leaving children unattended in motor vehicles, and to educate the public on how to prevent children from dying of vehicular heat stroke. Now, the bill encouraged DCF, the Department of Health, the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, local governments, and other agencies to sponsor events that promote awareness on the dangers of leaving a child unattended in a motor vehicle, and methods to prevent hot car deaths of children. Especially, these campaigns must address proper motor vehicle safety for children, the criminal penalties associated with leaving a child in a motor vehicle unattended or unsupervised, and the steps a bystander can take to rescue a vulnerable child in an immediate or imminent danger. Now, they came up with different laws, and I think this happened before anyway. Like, if a police officer was to see an unattended child in a vehicle, they by all safety means necessary, they can extract that child out that car. Okay. So, for instance, if that car locked, they can break a window, they can do whatever it is that won't harm that child to get that child out of the car. But I think it also gives us the right as citizens. Like, if you was to see a child that was in a car that was locked, and you see that child in there, and keep in mind, when we talk about the children now, the law says a child is 6 years old and under. And I know parents, you may think your 6-year-old may know how to do this or that, may know how to open doors, and he or she may very well know how to do that. But if the police see them in there, if a citizen sees them in there, and they feel like their life is in danger, guess what? You'll be paying for it. Not only the fact that DCF gonna come out to you and you looking at some bigger challenges, you might be paying for a broken window, because they may require that person to break a window to get in there to rescue your child up out of there. And if you're nowhere to be found, the law has to take the child to DCF.
Oh, wow.
So now you know you're finna be dealing with some issues and some problems. But this particular law here, it goes into effect July the 1st. So you want to be mindful of that, but keep in mind that April is hot car death prevention month. So it's awareness that that organizations like the motor vehicle organizations must put together programs that helps and benefit our community when it comes to these incidents occurring. Now, I think I have a little information, background on some data when it comes to this. Oh, okay. All right. So let's go to. I'm hearing from my engineer. We need to go to a quick commercial break. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break, and we're gonna come right back.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm an enrolled agent with Scott & Associates accounting firm. As you can see, we work diligently for our clients, making sure that all of their tax and accounting needs are met. Come take a walk with me.
At Scott & Associates, we pride ourselves in providing exceptional service to our clients. We firmly stand behind all of the work that we do. However, we have also put measures in place to protect our clients should something ever go wrong.
To schedule a tax appointment for your business or personal need, text or call us today at 321-754-1360. And remember, you can always count on Scott.
All right, so welcome back. And we're just talking about just came into, well, one of the laws that is going into effect here shortly. And just to touch on it, it's the HB 591. And I mentioned before it already passed the House and the Senate. So it's something that is really going to be implemented. And since the month is April, it was said that law enforcement and agencies need to come up with ways to help educate the community about a lot of these incidents that are occurring when it comes to our children, and the incident leaving them in a vehicle. And I'm gonna just give a little content, Minister. I'm gonna let you kind of go into it. But it says since 1998. 969 children have died nationwide due to vehicular heat strokes. 505 of these children, which is 52.17%, was forgotten by a caregiver. And another 237 children was unknowingly left behind by a caregiver, 20.66%. More than half of these deaths were children under 2 years of age. Since 1998, Florida has lost 110 children to vehicular heat strokes, 7 of which occurred in 2023. Go ahead, Minister.
Yeah, that's and what that means is, you can't, I guess that should be a public aware. It's happening in April, but that means that if you're leaving, these are basically babies or almost infants when they're under 2 years old, inside of and unfortunately, this means they're being left inside of a locked car, and it's turned off, and for whatever reason, you're leaving them, and in most cases, you're forgetting they're in the car, and then you come back, and disaster has struck. Because here in Florida, it's not funny, but it's a reality. I know sometimes I'll take, like I love soup. I'll take my soup with me to work and I'll leave it on my dashboard and roll my window up because it's like, it's a natural heating source. And now it's better than a microwave. It's heating, but it gets hot. Like, and if it gets that hot inside of a vehicle and you have a child, the windows down so they're not getting fresh air, their system can't take it in their they're going to expire. So it's like, we don't want people to be vigilantes. You know, you breaking somebody's car, but you shouldn't be leaving babies unattended in a car. But we need to verify that, because if I know it's saying law enforcement, but you have to be conscious that if you were to walk by and see a child in a car, first of all, they'll probably be crying. And then what's going to happen is they going to stop crying because they going to start losing consciousness. This law seems like it's allowing you the opportunity to go ahead and break that window and get that car out with no charges because of the safety of the child. And laws like this are beneficial because the last thing you need to know is, for whatever reason, you went where and you forgot and left your child, or left a child that you were supposed to be in the care of in a car. So it's laws like these. Now, see, I don't know I like the awareness. See, punishment, because I know to me that's a whole different thing now. Because now you're getting into probably manslaughter at the least. For doing that to a child, if not more.
And I think the notion is, if you're a parent, right, and I get it, parents, like I get it, you know, being a parent sometimes, especially a single parent, you know, and you may not want to take a child into the store because you feel like you're finna run in there real fast and get whatever you're gonna get. But you get in the store, it's 3 or 4 people before you,
ahead of you,
and now you sitting there, you want to check out, but that child been sitting out there in the car. And then you lock the doors and everything because you don't want nobody to go in there and steal the child up out of that car, because in your head you think, okay, I'm gonna keep them safe by locking the doors in here, but at the same time,
and you turning it off and you taking the keys, but you're still nobody to steal them in the car.
So it's just being mindful, and I think heat sometimes bother us, so we just want to be mindful that we're not too hot and not thinking correctly, and even with the data, right? And how it's saying like 52, like all the children that have suffered from that, 52.17% was forgotten. Like they was just totally forgotten. So you got into the car. It's not a normal routine for you to take your child to daycare, whatever the case is. You go straight to work. You jump out and you going to work. But you forgot about the baby
in the back seat.
So I mean, it's incidents like that occur, or it's incidents like 20.66% of that's knowingly left behind the child, like we're talking about. That they know the child is there, conscious of the child there, but they feel like what they need to do isn't going to take that long. So we just want to be mindful and aware of that, and they're just coming up with different programs or different ways to try to train people on making sure that these things are not happening in our community. So I would say look locally within your community. I wish we would have came up and just had some local programs that we can kind of shout out there. I always say there's touch base with the sheriff office. I'm pretty sure they have a lot of information when it comes to a lot of this stuff to help out when it comes to this. But it's like things like this is very important when it comes to our community, and I think I don't know if it was last year or the year before, it was a daycare worker and she left a baby in the car, and the child, of course,
expired.
And she's dealing almost, I think she's been sentenced right now. So because truly, you know, it ain't a bad person that probably does it. You know, you can mistakenly do certain things, but you just have to be mindful of the things that you do. And then, I mean, having a small child, you just have to account for them, especially if you're an employee working for an employer that deals with a lot of children. You just have to make sure that, you know, you account for every child.
Right.
You know, remember, you're getting paid anyway. Account for every child. I mean, if it takes you longer.
Take the time.
Yeah, account for the child. So it's very important that we keep this in mind as we go through April and beyond, because it's just going to get hotter here in Florida. And it's something that we have to deal with. But hey, we get to our main law that we want to talk about, HB 621. And as we talk about it, we're gonna start this off with a little context behind it. So we're gonna play a short video that's talking about it, and then we're gonna chop it up a little bit.
Imagine going on vacation and coming home to find people living there and refusing to leave. Well, that's called squatting, and believe it or not, when it happens, it's really hard to evict the squatters. Well, not anymore. A new state law will make the process much easier for property owners. Ari Otzer joins us live from Opelika to explain the issue. Ari.
Well, Juwan, it's almost unheard of for a bill to pass through the Florida legislature, both the House and the Senate, with unanimous support. Everyone from both parties agreeing that something had to be done about squatting. And today, Governor DeSantis signed that bill into law. Police ended up in a shootout with a squatter in that Southwest Miami-Dade incident. And at this home in Miami, occupied illegally by squatters, they found a dead body last summer.
Someone broke into the house, they changed the lock, and they stay there like they own the property.
Marie Javier owns the house. She was having it renovated as a rental when squatters took over.
So they stayed in the property like for 2 months.
That's because once squatters move in, getting them out has been a civil matter, not a criminal case, so it took time. Up in Jacksonville, Patty Peoples captured her confrontation with squatters on video. It took months to get them evicted because they had a fake deed to the property, and they damaged the home extensively.
It is, quite frankly, one of the most frustrating, unfair experiences and frightening experiences of my life. The burden of proof was on me.
You assume in America, if you purchase a home and own a residence, that's your residence.
Governor Ron DeSantis signed the bipartisan anti-squatting bill today. It allows police to immediately remove squatters if they have broken in, if they've refused to leave, and if they're not a current or former tenant involved in a legal dispute.
You are not going to be able to commandeer somebody's private property and expect to get away with it. We are, in the state of Florida, ending the squatter scam once and for all.
So how often does squatting actually happen? Well, there are no stats on it that I could find, either nationally or statewide. But recently, Miami-Dade Police and the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office told my colleague Amy Viteri that cases are on the rise. So this new law is a tool for law enforcement and for property owners to fight back. We're live in Opelika. Ari Otzer, NBC6 News.
Who's out there, but if there are like some attorneys or anyone that's close to these laws, we do want to hear from you. You can always chat, send a chat in. If you're on our platform, you can always chime in as well that way. So we do want to hear from those that are close connected with a lot of these laws, maybe some of the lawmakers. Hey, if you're one of the politicians, by all means, we'd like to hear from you when it comes to that. But this is a law. I was just looking at the news, and I don't know if this was out of Jersey, but it was somewhere. And the homeowner went to their property, and the squatters that were staying there called the police on them. They took the homeowner to jail.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is scary. This is real scary. And when I seen that Santos had written this law into when this bill was, when he signed this bill into law, I was like, man, that's a relief. You heard what it said like there was a shootout with a squatter and the police.
Right.
You mean you come to your house that you done paid for now as the possessor, and you got the dispossessed in there, and they have arms trying to protect property that don't belong to them from the property owner.
See, they done misinterpreted possession being 9/10 of the law.
I mean, it's funny, the mindsets, but it's serious and it's scary.
It's part of what's going on in society, specifically with housing and homelessness. Criminal-minded people have learned to use the law to their advantage, and they have learned that, because I've heard people have these conversations,
right?
That you can find a vacant house. It can be for rent, it can be for sale, it can just be vacant. If they move in and say that they're living there, you and I can own it and say, wait a minute, you better get the heck up out of my place. If they say no, okay, your first thought is, okay, you know what? 911.
Yeah.
See, because I live in the city of Atlanta. I'm going to call the police quick. I got a couple of them on speed dial. 911. But here's the problem. If they show up and that person says that they live there and they done slept there, the police can't do anything.
Right.
They can't. So now, like in that case, if you come there, they finna shoot you and they in your property and you the owner. So you gotta back off and you have to evict someone who has no right to the property at all. But under the law, you had to go through this procedure. And it's very expensive and very time consuming. And the ones that are smart play it out for 3 months or so, and then at the end, they just disappear.
Right.
And now they show those pictures, they damage your property, and you're starting all over, and you're out of a big financial burden to remove them when it's like, they're not supposed to be on my property.
Right.
In the beginning.
And then as a landlord or homeowner, you trying to think of, how do I prevent this? Because you have to go in there, you have to pay the money to get everything back up to par and get it back for rentable, and you done spent all this money again, and if you're not in that area code, or you're busy working, what prevents that from happening again, and you have to do all that over again? So I think with this law, the HB 621, I'm really happy about it, because I have property and my property is a little distance. So I always think about that. I said, what if someone is in my property? Because it's a real dangerous situation, because you don't know what fool may be in there. And if it's a true fool in there, she may have a gun.
Yes.
And you coming there saying, get out of my property, and you own the property grounds, they have rights.
Yeah. And that's the part of, they shouldn't, but this system is, because it has been perverted to a sense. Now they have a right, even though they don't have a right.
Right.
Like, you have to prove them. So this one, I applaud things when they're right. I'm glad this one got signed. As much foolishness as much craziness as DeSantis has been doing, this one he got it right.
He got this one right.
He got this one right. In my opinion.
Right. That's
because this will allow you to move someone out a lot more expeditious. You still gonna have some costs,
Right.
but the cost should be less and the time would definitely be quicker.
Yeah, so just to, because it said the property owner, and I'm trying to get to where I was. Okay, so the property owner, his or her authorized agent may request from the sheriff of the county in which the property is located the immediate removal of a person or persons unlawfully occupying a residential dwelling pursuant to this section if all of the following conditions are met. So let's talk about the conditions. So condition 1, the requesting person is the property owner or authorized agent of the property owner. In most cases, should pass that one. Condition number 2, the real property is being occupied includes a residential dwelling. So it has to be a residential dwelling. Okay. 3, an unauthorized person or persons have unlawfully entered and remain or continue to reside on the property owner's property. So that's, of course, that's the squatter that entered unlawfully. 4 here, the real property was not open to members of the public at the time the unauthorized person or persons entered. So that's almost like going through construction, and you may have finalized the AC or something, and here come this person want to come into your property. It ain't even available for anybody to either rent it or sell it at the time, and here come this person coming in there. So that applies as well. And then E, number 5, it says the property owner has directed the unauthorized person to leave the property. So you have to go and make sure that hey, you need to leave the property now. Number 6, it says the unauthorized person or persons are not current or former tenants pursuant to a written or rental agreement authorized by the property owner. And landlords or owners, you can't be deceptive.
Yes, yes.
Just because the person ain't pay their rent, you can't say they're a squatter and you need them out of your property. You still do have to go through the process, the legal process in the legal way, or evicting that person out of the property. So that, and that's why I say it seemed like it was very fine-tuned to make sure that it wasn't unjust at the same time when it comes to making sure that certain things have to be done through the legal system, which I like that. G, it says the unauthorized person or persons are not immediate family members of the property owner. So I guess this goes back to family. You can't say a family member, was a squatter and you say, come and get them up out of here. Same thing. You still have to go through the process. And I think last but not least, it said there is no pending litigation related to the real property between a property owner and any known unauthorized person. So there can't be litigations where you already, you done filed for eviction and et cetera. It goes back to you just can't, kick the person out if they have a legal agreement or contract with you. You just have to go through the proper procedures. And then it says to request the immediate removal in unlawful occupant of a residential dwelling, the property owner or his or her authorized agent must submit a complaint by presenting a completed and verified complaint to remove persons unlawfully occupying residential real property to the sheriff of the county in which the real property is located. The submitted complaint must be in substantially the following form. Oh goodness, we got some more here. But basically it just said a complaint to remove a person unlawfully occupying residential property. It says I, the owner or authorized agent of the owner of the real property located at whatever the address is, declare under the penalty of perjury that and then initiate what the situation is. So it still has to be something done to the sheriff office so that they can take the proper action, but it ain't a legal process that's going to take you 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
With this person that's going to be sitting in your property for 3 to 6 months and messing up. But I think it was well thought out. I don't know who prepared this
sponsor
bill?
This one.
Yeah, but this is a law that I feel like is much needed when it comes to. I think it's just much needed when it comes to the safety of individuals. Period. Because anytime someone has the rights to your property, I guess it's
as much as they normally don't do their jobs, this time somebody was actually doing their job.
It was the Judiciary Committee. It's a general bill by the Judiciary Committee. And then they just name all the individuals that's a part of that actual committee. And this particular law here goes into effect. Oh, wow. It goes into effect July the 1st.
Is that July the 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that means you only got about 2 months to wait.
Yeah, so
3 months.
Goodness. I ain't want to let nobody know that one.
Well, that means for the
I want to change my property.
for the property owners, you ain't got much longer to wait.
Right.
For the squatters, y'all need to be prepared to move.
Yeah, you need to be prepared to get out. I'm telling you, I'm gonna smoke you up out of my.
Because this will be a faster process, but that is unfortunate because that's dangerous if you go to your property and somebody's there that don't belong.
Right.
That can be very dangerous.
It is because I mean, how you deal with that type of conflict?
Yes.
You know, knowing that that's your property. You know,
you go tell them to leave,
right?
And they can buck, and then you could call the police. You literally can,
right.
But without this bill, you could wind up being arrested for trying to remove somebody from your property that you don't even know.
Right.
Now you got to deal with legal implications and charges for doing absolutely nothing wrong.
Because you're trespassing on your own property.
Yes. See, that's almost insanity, but that's a reality.
It sure is. That's crazy. But no, I mean it is something to be mindful of. I think it's like I said, this is probably one of his one of the laws that I really appreciate. He signed it into law, and it goes in effect July the 1st. And I just hopefully that changed a lot when it comes to what unlawful people are doing out there, and just seeing the incident that happened in I think New Jersey, man, it was just like it was like a scary, because it was a female, and these was guys that were standing there.
Wow.
So this female coming against a bunch of guys, that's a lot, and
that's very dangerous.
You should be ashamed of yourself, man. I mean, like, stop it, man.
Well, then hopefully this will, once it go through Florida, it'll spread around the nation. Because what happens is, once enforcement happens, then they realize we can't do this anymore, and they'll stop.
Right.
The reason they're doing it now is because they know they can get away with it.
Right. The law.
I mean, you can literally, it's like they're breaking in. They break a back window or whatever, and then they get slick and go back and change the locks to your property.
Right.
And then now they can tell the police, "I have a key."
Right. Yeah.
And you have nothing you can do.
Right. That's crazy. I hope we ain't getting nobody no ideas neither. But just know that law is going into effect. So from whomever that may think they can get away with it, you ain't got that much long.
In Florida, they done got rid of the concealed carry permit now, and they got, it's just like but it shouldn't come to that.
Right.
But see, you also have this stand your ground law, so it's like it's not worth being shot over, but I can see it coming to that.
Yeah.
In some cases, if you get caught in a situation, that's just way too much to be dealing with.
It is.
Over a property, over residence in a property.
Right. Well, those are kind of like the three main laws I think we had time enough to kind of get into. It was one last thing. I don't know if we can get into that right now. But those were the main laws. The first one, which was the mental health I think that's dealing with mental health. That's big within our community. We oftentimes hear about where a person had left a child in a vehicle. I think that's big within our community, and a lot. When it comes to squatting, is big within our community because we see a lot of abandoned homes, and we see homes that are being construction on, and we see people they choose to go in there unlawfully and stay within people's property, and it's like you can cause create something that should not have been created, something that's chaotic or something that's very I would say sad for the community. Somebody come and get shot, shoot somebody, and that person dies from the injuries. I don't think that's good for the community. No. So when it comes to squatting and stuff like that, we just that's something that I feel like just need to be done away with. And I'm very thankful for this law that's written into effect when it comes to that. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break, and we're gonna come right back and we'll get ready to close out.
Hey, shalom and blessings, everyone. Author Jeremiah here. I am the author of The Spiritual Significance of a Name, Define Your Purpose. And I want to share something with you today. It's very important. As we go throughout life, we understand certain things to be challenging for us, right? But life can be a beautiful experience when we discover our purpose. Because then, and only then, do we discover that we have a true reason to live. Won't you go to the NOYstore.com and pick up a copy of my book today, The Spiritual Significance of a Name. That's the NOYstore.com. You'll thank me later. Until next time, peace and prosperity.
All right, and welcome back. Is at that time where we get ready to close out. And Minister, any last words?
Yeah, no, you mentioned them all, just and to highlight the other one we mentioned. When you see vehicles stopped on that right side, it's the law now. Move over. It is the law. Please move over. It's you never know if the person that you're protecting in that vehicle is one of your loved ones. Look at it as that was your loved one. Please move over.
Right. Indeed. And one of the things I think I started off as far as a motivational quote, and I say it again, we talked about it, the ignorance of a law don't excuse you. And it's important that we become conscious and mindful of the laws that they pass, although they may not be in the Constitution as of yet. Like if you go to the statutes right now, you may not see none of this here because they don't update that until around the end of the year. I think it's around October. But those laws still in effect. And just because you don't know them, don't excuse you. So just be mindful of laws always changing and being written into law, although you may not see it somewhere that you would normally look for them at. So I just leave you with that. And I would say from the host, peace and prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out. Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Author Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
For live.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.